Vanessa here with Culture Collective. Thank you for your time. Your hair looks fantastic. Of course it does.
Thank you.
I have been looking at all of the CurlMix, your campaign and everything that you've been doing. I think it's incredible. You've tapped into and encouraged your community to help you get to 20K orders by December. Like, how's that going? How's the community response been? Because I know they ride really hard for you and for CurlMix.
Thank you so much. The response has been overwhelmingly positive, and we are about at 4,000 orders in the last 14 days. So we're tracking. If we do 5,000 every 15, then like we'll hit our goal. So I'm super excited about that. So it's looking like it's going to be really, really good. But when we started, I was terrified because I was not sure if it was going to come through. So I'm happy that it's working.
Is it nerve-wracking to like ask people for help, or is that something that you're just like, no, this is the community, this is what we do, and yeah.
I think as a culture, we're taught to have shame around asking for what we need. And I think that's specific to our culture. I don't think that that's necessarily, my white counterparts don't feel that way. But if we look at anyone who's done anything big, right? If we're looking at nonprofits or we're looking at politicians, they ask for money every freaking day. And then don't even give you the rights that you voted for. And then big businesses who are fundraising, we love the Googles and the Facebooks, but they were asking for money. Ultimately, that's how most people achieve success, but we hold shame around it, saying, "Hey, I need help." And was it hard at first? Absolutely. Like when I first realized we're gonna have to do the campaign, I was like, had a bit of shame and guilt around it. And then even when we pressed send on the email that went out to the customers, there was I had a pit in my stomach and I felt sick doing it. But I know that sometimes your biggest blessing is on the other side of humility. And so, did it feel great doing it? No. Did I know it was the right thing to do? Yes. And so I was like, you know what, Kim, if your ego has to die for your team to eat, for the business to stay open, for your customers to have the brand that they love, then like let's kill that ego and get to the next step.
Was there anything that surprised you about the community response so far? Because I've seen like people just like really excited to just like help out and spread the message.
Oh, can you repeat that question again, Vanessa? I'm sorry.
Was there anything surprising about the community response so far?
Oh, absolutely. I had no idea people would rally in the way that they rallied. Like I thought my customers would buy and then we turn into a good ad. I had no idea all of my entrepreneurial peers would step up. Morgan DeBon made a video and then shared it with her team, and then they loved the story, so they shared it on her networks. I've had a friend introduce me to Ben and Jerry's co-founders, Ben Cohen,
Mm.
from posting on social. I've had that was Hope Wiseman who did that for me. I've even the fact that I'm on the call with you right now came from PR services of someone who's a rock star PR agent that I had not met before, but through a friend, she reached out and wanted to help. So I'm like so grateful. So many people have just like, what do you need? I got you. One lady even tried to send me $500 so I wouldn't have to like cook and clean in my house. And I could, now that I feel like I couldn't take, so I didn't want to. And I'm like, okay, well, you're saying you could ask, but then are you even good at receiving? Which is something I could work on. Because I just wanted to buy CurlMix. I didn't want people to like personally donate to me. And there were people who wanted to do that. So I would, and I'm like, oh no, like I can cook for my kids and like it's okay. So yeah, there were some surprising moments for sure.
Yeah. As an entrepreneur, how do you balance keeping your customers happy with the product while trying to maintain the brand and keep it alive? It's like making sure there's no drop in quality and then things like that.
Ooh. What I will say, the quality won't drop, right? So we always micro everything. Micro means we test everything before it goes out. So I'm not as worried about people getting like less quality, lower quality in products. But because we had a smaller team, like we shrunk from 40 to 14 people, and then we had this influx in our sales because of the campaign, and we're doing pre-orders that, our customer service only had one or two people. So now we had to go hire someone else to help us get through the hundreds of emails that we're getting. Or my operations only had like seven people on site making things in the manufacturing plant, and then we had to go hire four people to get the orders out. And so there's a little bit of delayed in like the shipping times, just because we had a small team, and then even when you get the money, you still got to go buy the materials. It takes 1 or 2 weeks to get, then make everything, then ship it out. And so we're trying to be transparent about everything being pre-ordered. But that can be difficult if you're being compared against an Amazon. And so that has been a challenge, I would say. So this is a domino game, right? The first thing was, okay, we got to run this campaign. can we set the goal where it would actually help us be sustainable and self-sufficient? Two, will the campaign be successful? Can you get the orders? Okay, the campaign's being successful. Great. Three, now we have the money to be able to buy the materials because we still had debt and things like that. And so, okay, well, now we have the money. Now you got to buy the materials. Now you got to get everything in time, and now you got to make everything. And so it's a constant dominant. And then now you got to make sure you still hit the 20,000 orders. So, my team, some people on my team were like nervous, like, oh my God, we gotta do this and I do that. And it's just like, I was like, we knocked down the first domino and the second and third. We got five more, but we can do it. And so that's kind of what we're battling with behind the scenes.
Cool. So you had talked about your hiring process. Has the tariffs have been kind of impacting small businesses everywhere? A lot of the ingredients that you have in your products, some of them would they be? I was like doing a little bit of research, and some of them like flaxseed and what was it? The other one I wrote down. Oh my God. Wrote down something else that would be affected by the tariffs. Is there any specific ingredients or things that like are affected by shipping delays or anything like that that you have to work around?
I know specifically shea butter, the price of shea butter has gone up significantly. But it all depends. We have like a few hundred raw materials that we purchase to make products. So, but I know specifically shea butter has gone up. One of the largest producers of shea butter is like, I think, a smaller country in Africa, that had a significantly higher tariff than other places. And that definitely can impact the business because shea butter is in lots of conditioners or it's in a lot of moisturizers, things like that, and affects everyone for sure.
Yeah. So ideally, if you hit your goal, then some, hopefully, what's the plan for after? Because the current economic stability still feels like it's going to be around. So how do you even plan for something so uncertain?
So the biggest one of so yes, the economy is an issue, but our biggest thing is we were managing between inventory, debt, and advertising. And we're a direct consumer brand, so you spend quite a bit on advertising, and we needed volume. So any given month, we're managing between these three different buckets,
Mhm.
and didn't have enough money to put into all three buckets. So it's like, okay, I might cut ads off, and then I have inventory, and then I have debt, but I have no volume. And if I don't have volume, then I'm already going to lose money, right? Or I could have ads and inventory, but then my debt is not paid. So my debt needs to be paid, And so then I could have ads and debt paid, but on inventory, but then the ads have to cut off because customers don't have the product. So once this campaign is done, we won't be managing the debt issue anymore. It'll literally just be inventory and ads. And we'll have a clean slate. We'll have a better cash balance, be able to manage everything. And so it wasn't that we had an issue with demand per se. Like we had enough customers. So we had like people who wanted to buy the product. We were doing repeat revenue, large return customer rate. But we didn't have necessarily have the budget to play at that higher level to match the volume. Our business used to do 10 million a year and then it dropped down to 5. And so you can imagine you're going to have some fixed costs like our building, or our team that you can't really get rid of or the business goes away. So business needs to stay at this level to manage these fixed costs. So we should be good after the campaign. As long as we hit the 20,000, we'll be in really good shape.
Nice. So how much has this companies like Target and other big box stores have been rolling back DEI initiatives? How much has that impacted your CurlMix and your other businesses specifically?
If those things hadn't happened, maybe we would have gone into retail and would have gotten a bigger check and we wouldn't have had any cash issues. Very possible because we have the volume that we needed, by, a deal with Target or a deal with Walgreens or a deal with CVS or something like that. Or maybe, yeah, so maybe that would have happened, but I would say it's a little less impactful for us because we're not in those stores yet. But that was more so intentional because I just knew, I'm like, think the tides are changing, like what is happening. Let me kind of sit back and watch before we dive headfirst into retail. So we are in Ulta Beauty. So if people want to support us there, they can definitely go to Ulta. But we decided not to add a bunch of retailers, and I'm so glad we didn't because I think we would have been in a much worse position had we done that.
Fair. So there's like you've mentioned your team and having to hire some or downsizing. How do you kind of keep your team reassured and making sure they don't feel, the brunt of like what's going on?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think we've always paid our team well. That's one of the reasons we're even in this position is because we paid 20% above market rate and we hired from the community and we gave 3 months maternity leave. And, it can be very expensive for a business to offer health insurance and just things that when I was when I would work for someone else, I didn't think about it as like, well, of course I better have this, this, and this, and this, and this. But as an entrepreneur, when you're providing those resources, that's actual cash. So like while my team member might only pay 25% for their insurance, me as a business owner, I'm paying the 75%. So it's just a lot more expensive. And we have, even with the people that we still have on our team, we still pay them well above market rate for their roles for sure. And I think also it's a good environment, a good place to work. And we hire a lot of folks of color, Black folks, um, Latino. And so I think that I don't know, so when someplace feels like home and it feels good, it's hard to leave, you know?
Mhm.
And then we pay you well, so it's like, okay, I'm gonna stay, you know. And I think we treat people over profits, of course, but we treat people like people. So I've heard of different people going off on their teams. I was like, what? You cut your team out? I would never. Like, I would never, and so I think that's the culture at CurlMix is very diplomatic, democratic, and just kind.
Yeah. You guys are in Chicago, and have you been able to like tap into your network of like other small business you associate like in that area, putting your products in different spaces like salons or whatever? Are you able to like network in that way to like expand your reach?
So we've dabbled a bit in that. I think it requires a slightly bigger team to manage
Hmm.
because it's a lot more manual. We focus mostly online. So like 95% of our sales are all.com.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So there is hold on, sorry, I'm missing my question. How do you, okay, I know you were talking about like your campaign is something you had to like that you decided to do, but if I feel like a lot of people at this point would give up, but you're still maneuvering and you're still trying new things. How do you just how do you just pivot or figure out how to pivot when things go sideways? It is even, I guess, possible to plan. Like you're talking about forecasting and not going into the big box stores. How do you have the like I guess the smarts to just figure that out beforehand. You know what I mean? Like it seems like you have got a pretty good head on your shoulders and you figure out like what's good for your brand and what's not. How do you continue to do that in like this kind of space? Because most people would give up.
So, those are like two questions. So the first question is, how do you not get, well, okay, I'm gonna do the first question. Um, how do I know what to do? I had different people in my corner with competing advice, right? Some people are like spray and pray in retail, go in every door as possible, growth, growth, growth. But I realized my interests weren't aligned with those people who suggested that.
Mhm.
And the numbers didn't make sense. And I know it didn't make sense because I come from direct to consumer. So I can put $1 on Facebook and get three out. So if I'm putting $1 in a retail and I'm not getting three, I should put the money in that my.com and not retail.
Mhm.
And so it was just like we only did one retail at first and then we didn't add on a bunch. Two, I had mentors and advisors and coaches that I paid that kind of let me know what it was like for other brands who did retail and or other brands who just did different moves or mistakes that were made or and I have friends who have exited their businesses who made, 50 million a year in their brands that was .com. So I know it's possible for us to have scale on .com. I know that getting back to 10 million profitably is totally doable. And because I've been working in the business as the CMO lately and the CEO, that I know exactly how to do it now. Because I got back in the weeds and things like that. And so that is what gives me clarity on the direction and what's the right move and feel comfortable in my knowing that we can do this in 2026 and
Mhm.
have growth and be profitable. But why haven't I just given up? That is a great question. I've actually been encouraged to just give up. I was like, girl, just, you did enough. Like you tried. It's cool. Do something else. I think that would be entirely self-interested if I did that. And to get to this point, it was not just about me and not by myself. I mean, I had team members, I had family who put in money. I have 9,000 crowdfunding investors who are my customers, and regular investors. I have and my customers would be so sad if the brand was gone. We have 20,000 customers in a Facebook group, and Joe Holly, who lives in the DMV area, she invited a bunch of CurlMixes to her winery birthday party. Or like Tammy in Chicago had a 55th and they all flew up for her. Like they go over to those houses to do their hair. And they like go to each other's kids' birthday parties. And like, it's like a real community. And if CurlMix died, like they would be um so sad and it would be like a huge part missing from their lives. And so if it was just about me, yeah, I would have quit 3 years ago. But it was not, it's never been just about me. And then my team, it's been about my community. So if my ego has to die for them to eat and to thrive, I'll do it every day. Every day.
I think that's beautiful. I think that is you had talked about your white counterparts dealing with different things. I feel like this part, the community that you've built is so unique to your brand. Like I don't think I've
Mhm.
seen it anywhere else. And I follow a few different curl brand. Like I just feel like it's so unique to this. So, and you had mentioned your counterparts that like don't have the same issues. Is there other differences besides obviously your very, very active community that you notice that either helps or hurts them versus you or your brand?
I you said, do I notice any differences?
Mhm. What the main
Uh,
difference?
I would say the difference is that like there's less emotion behind it, and less of a familial approach. So you know how Black folks get upset when you sell, right? It's like, oh, you sold out type of thing.
Mhm.
Like their community doesn't have that. Their community celebrates the sell, right? Um, and so there are definitely some differences with closure. I think that in closing, our community is going to rally behind to make sure one of ours doesn't fail.
Mhm.
And so that's the other side of that. You know what I mean? You get like the all right, I'm gonna fuss at you. You should have done this, this, and this, and this, but here's the money. Like it's very much
Yeah.
that auntie at Thanksgiving, like, okay, grandma, what'd you do? And how you do it? Are you gonna do that again? No, okay, all right, here you go. Like it's very much that. So it's two sides, two
Mhm.
sides. So no, I wouldn't be as chastised um for asking amongst my white counterparts, but I don't know that the communities would show up in the same way for them.
Right.
So I'm very grateful.
That's awesome. Let me make sure I got all the questions I had about the brand. Um, so you have I feel like um there is an onslaught of celebrity hair care brands that have started, I don't know if they've started to crowd out the smaller or like community minded or like online brands, but do you feel like they are, or do you feel like there's room for everyone in this space?
Mhm. That's a great. Oh, I didn't think about celebrity brands crowding out because the other thing about celebrity brands is that they're not always successful either. So I think sometimes we think, oh, because they have a big name, that like, oh, they're crushing it. But like, we ain't seen nobody's P&L, their profit and loss statement. We don't know.
Mhm.
Now, is the market growing and is there just more competition and the hair care products are less specialized and less unique? Yes,
Mhm.
that's true. I do think in some ways natural hair is becoming a bit more of a commodity, and people need a reason to purchase other than just the product works because most of the products work. Like, and so why am I buying you outside of that your conditioner has slipped? And so I think that's one of the reasons people support CurlMix is because our community is so strong. And they know that we do good in the community and that feels good when you buy and it's impact. People want emotion and impact in their purchases and not just functionality.
Right.
So am I faults in the celebrity brands? No. I just think it's just the nature of the category, which actually is a good thing in a way, because that means that we're celebrating curly hair and we're encouraging people to wear their hair natural, which ultimately is all I want at the end of the day.
Awesome. I actually was reading some of your blog and I loved your blog about the WNBA and paying what you owe us. It was like, I'm a huge WNBA fan. I'm an Aces fan. I live in Vegas. And
Hey.
it's one of my favorite things. I think that like Black women always bear the brunt of the pay gap. And it happens across, you know, every industry, and it's a little bit daunting. So how do you, I don't know, I guess keep going in the face of that as an entrepreneur, but also as a Black woman, just like trying to bring something unique to her community. You know what I mean?
First of all, I love that you read that blog. That was like deep in our content. So the fact that you found that, I'm like, oh, she really researched. Thank you so much. I loved writing that because I was definitely on one. I was looking at the numbers and I just could not believe the disparity. It's insane. And I have a friend who used to run one of the orgs. And so I know that the orgs weren't profitable before. So it's like to expect a significant increase and they weren't profitable is tough. But I also know that most of these organizations tripled in value, which means you raise money, which means you got some coin. So that means that the pay can go up at least a little bit. But anyway, I digress. So being a woman and not being paid fairly, I deeply understand. What I will say is I try not to harp on what I can't fix and I can't change. I was like, okay, so I joke that like I feel like my business is like a bunch of like different Lego pieces. And I have all the pieces in the pile to be like a master builder and build something really amazing, but I gotta pick up the right pieces. When I think about things I can't change, I feel like it's not within my pile of Legos, and I have to focus on my pile of Legos. I have to focus on what I can control and what I can do, and crowd out the noise. I think it's a skill to amplify the positive voices and quiet the negative ones. And that is how I've been able to keep going. So honestly, I ignore a lot of the rhetoric around the pay gap, and I hate to say ignore, but it's just I can't do anything about it.
Right.
The only thing I can do is what I can do. So that's how I approach it.
Cool. We had talked about, you mentioned like some brands that have basically sold out and other brands that are kind of doing different things. What are those lessons that you've learned from what not to do or whatever from those brands? Like I remember when Shea Moisture's their ingredients changed and certain things like that. I used to use brands and they were just something changed about them when they sold. So I was like, I'm not going to use this anymore. Are there lessons that you learned from those businesses?
So you know what's interesting? When we think about brands like a Shea Moisture, they're distributed all the way in like Tokyo. You know what I mean? You might find some haircare products on a shelf in Tokyo. And in order to have their products be shipped to a Tokyo, you know what I mean? Or like to be there on a shelf for who knows how long, you have to think about the production process for something like that. They have to make the product. It might be on a trailer for 2 to 3 months. Then if you know, it might be sitting in the distribution center for another 2 to 3 months. Then it finally makes it to the counter or the shelf, and it's there for 1 to 2 years. And then you get it, and you might be holding on to it for another 1 to 2 years. And so they have to typically make something that can last that long, 3 to 5 years without going rancid.
Mhm.
And the things that they were making in their family-owned factory in Amityville, you know what I'm saying, won't last that long. And so when you have that kind of massive scale, you have to change the formula.
Mhm.
Like we have a honey shampoo that is mostly honey and is absolutely amazing, and it literally like glides through your hair. It feels incredible. It's one of our most popular products, and it untouched, unopened, it'll last for like 1 to 2 years. Once you open it, you got about a year to use it. Otherwise, the honey crystallizes on the bottom.
Mhm.
Because it's real honey. You know what I mean? It's real honey. And it's like that's something I could would sell at a mart, kiosk in Tokyo. Yeah, you know what I mean? And so the formulas do change. We're larger because of they're trying to reach hundreds of millions of people.
Mhm.
And so the question becomes, do you scale brands to that size, right? That are focused on quality and ingredients? Or do you remain small batch, privately owned, and instead of being a $1 billion organization, you're a $100 million organization?
Mhm.
And so what this conversation that I'm experiencing now is making me question my desires to be that $1 billion founder that I used to have. And just say, hey, would you be happy with, a smaller business that is family owned, that has good quality, that you continue to own and run? And it's interesting because I'm leaning more towards that now than I ever was before. Because before my ego was driving the boat. And so it was like, I want that really, really big company. But I also know that a lot of times people get those payouts and they might be rich, but now they're like, well, what's my purpose? What am I doing? Like, you know what I mean? There's this whole other ego death they have to go through,
Mhm.
um, in self-fulfillment and actualization. So I say all this to say, my vision for myself is still developing. Um, I do think we need more Black founders with $1 billion exits, but maybe it's not in Black hair care.
Mhm.
Um, maybe it's into some other AI, some other way of getting there. Um, and I like what I'm doing and who I serve and who I do it for. So and I have no desire to change that today, right? But my big vision, I would love to have impact in my community. I would love to be more like a Ben and Jerry's,
Yeah. Shout out to Ben and Jerry's. Uh,
right?
I was actually going to ask you. I think I asked this in every interview just because it's so on topic. But you mentioned it. Or do you use AI in any of your like? I don't know how you would, but like I says organizing or whatever. But like we've started using it in my organizing. I'm like, okay, this is fine, I guess, because I most of the headlines have been like, children are using AI to, and then getting like it's just been like really sensational. So I was wondering if it's something that's beneficial to your business at all.
Oh yeah, so we use AI. Our team talks to AI about everything, honestly. All of my leaders in our company use AI. There are five of us who kind of run everything, and each one of us uses AI in our whether it's helping us create faster, more ads at volume, so different image ads or different copy, or whether I'm running my email that I want to write. So I'm doing a lot of plain text emails for the campaign. And so I'm like, hey, these are my ideas, and I'm like putting this in. I'm like, help me craft. And it's like, oh, I don't like this. This sounds this way. Help me make it sound this way. But a lot of my actual campaigns for the Protect CurlMix campaign, I'm actually writing myself.
Hmm.
So actually write better emails than ChatGPT when it comes to storytelling. It's kind of
Most
funny.
people do.
But I will edit it in ChatGPT. You know what I mean? Or I've used AI for product photos. That's a way to save money. It's like sometimes it's really expensive to go and get a new photo for every single product that you have. We also have used AI to like review our finances. What do you think about this? Like, how can we save money here? Like, where are we overspending? So yeah, we definitely use it. I don't say it's replaced a job though. It's
Yeah,
not like we that we have, but it's definitely helped us be more efficient and effective for sure.
nice. What advice would you be to any other business owners going through this something similar to your situation?
Ooh, I wish we had launched the Protect CurlMix campaign maybe a month ago.
Mhm.
So it's good that it was around holiday, but I think that the back and forth between not wanting to launch it and launching it, like just that's what got to the negative balance in the bank. If we had launched it a month prior, we wouldn't have had a negative balance. And so it was more fear and delaying the inevitable outcome of what needed to happen. So I would say make the harder decisions faster, so they can be less costly and less risky. And then I would say too, um, I think our campaign is working partially because I post online regularly.
Mhm.
I post like daily, if not, or every other day, at least for the last 2 or 3 years. And so part of community building is you have to give something first. It's not just like, okay, well, I've been selling business, so I'm in the background, nobody knows me, and like, well, I'm worried about going to business, but I never really show up for my community. I was like, well, I was like a content creator back in 2020, going live in my shower every Wednesday, showing people how to do their hair, what wash and goes. And then I transitioned to content creator, I would say truly in 2023, posting every day. And then we did some podcasts and just all kinds of stuff. And I started really just giving freely to my community and never really asking them to buy anything necessarily. Like I didn't sell courses or anything like that. You know what I mean? And I think that is one of the reasons that the campaign is doing so well is because I just kind of gave freely for a while. So there's another entrepreneur who wants to do this. I would say you should be a content creator. It's a huge part of that. And then two, do it sooner. Do it sooner.
Okay. Um, is there hope like everything works out? What are you looking ahead to in 2026?
I want to do have a really profitable year, but a comfortable cash position in the bank for sure. That's like my number one. I
Mhm.
don't ever want to have to come out here and ask for money again, y'all. Okay. Then they're gonna be like, no girl, go home. Just close the shop. Like so being self-sufficient is what I am looking forward to in 2026. And then I live in Hyde Park here in Chicago, which is like Wakanda of Chicago. And I just love it. Oh my gosh, I love it. So just being here, taking care of my babies, dropping them off at school, picking them up, cooking.
Yeah,
Which is one of the reasons I didn't take the money. 'Cause I'm like, no, I like what I'm doing.
respect that. I respect that. Is there anything else that you want to add before we sign off? I don't know if I
No, this has been great. Thank you so much, Vanessa.
I appreciate you. Thank you for your
Oh,
time.
well, you know what? They can go to ChromX.com to protect ChromX.
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and I hope your orders go through the roof and I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one.